Hi guys, welcome to my videos. This is part of the videos that will help you grow in your chess games. This game is taken from the match between Spassky and Fischer in 1972. This is game 3. I won't be showing game 2 because Bobby Fischer did not show up to play Spassky in game 2. So Spassky won that game by Fischer forfeiting that game. So this is game 3. Let's enjoy the beautiful thing this game has to offer. This game contains strategies you will learn that would help you in your own games too, in attacking and defending. So let's enjoy the beauty it has to offer. Spassky is playing the white pieces. Fischer is playing black. So Spassky went for d4. Knight to f6. c4, e6. We have the knight to f3. c5. There can be a pawn take, but Spassky chose to extend the pawn further to d5. Pawn takes. Pawn takes. The pawn cannot be captured because the queen defends the pawn. So knight cannot take now. Taking is a bad move. So after d6, knight to c3, adding one more defender to the pawn and developing a minor piece. g6 comes up. We have knight to d2. Knight to d2 move. I do not see this move as a great move, but let's see the strategy Spassky is trying to use here with this move. Knight on b to d7, we have pawn push to e4. Bishop to g7, bishop to e2. Here, black castled and keep the king out of the center. Just take a look at it. In just 9 moves, we can learn this in the opening from great Robert James Fischer. Can you see that he castles just exactly in 9 moves? If you check the development of his pieces, he has centered his pawns to some extent. Then these knights are connected in form of development. This particular knight here on d7 has access to a square like this, e5, meaning that he developed this knight towards the center. Then the bishop is very strong here on this long diagonal. Once this knight leaves, we have a good pyramid supporting and defending the castled king. There's a rook almost active. Queen is coming out soon. Then a move like this creates space for the bishop to come into the game and so many activity. I am showing this from Fischer's perspective because he created a lot of mark. He achieved a lot in the chess world. So there are a lot to learn from Fischer's game, and this is part of it. So let's continue in this game. After he castled, Boris also castled. So you see, both players are playing standard moves in the opening and they are thinking like great minds. Somebody playing against Bobby Fischer thinking this way, and if you can reason the game and play like this, it will help your game and you go far too in your chess career. Now after rook to a8, what is the idea here? Putting the rook on open file, activating the rook. When the rook was here on f8, it was not doing anything. It was blocked by its own pawn. So by the time the rook came to e8, it has freedom. Yes. Then secondly, supporting this knight in mounting pressure on this pawn on e4. Good. So a move like this can be played in the future, maybe moving knight away and removing some defenders to the pawn. Then the pawn can become vulnerable. So the placement of your piece on an active square is known to be connected to positional play. Just position it there for the right time to strike. So this happened after rook to e8. We have queen to c2. Boris saw a need to increase defender on that pawn, and he did that strategically. He knows in a few moves time in the future, he would eventually move one of the knights so that they can work for him in the game. So he brought the queen here to support in defending this pawn. Now knight to h5. I can't really place a reason why Bobby Fischer would play knight to h5, but he had his reason. However, if I'm the one playing, I won't easily go for knight to h5. In this modern dispensation, there are moves like knight coming over to the center, although it can be kicked immediately with pawn to f4. Yes, I totally understand. However, Fischer, who played this move in this game, knows its reason. Well, let's find out. Boris saw the reason to take away the knight and causing a damaged pawn structure in the king's side. Went on to take the knight with the bishop, giving away his bishop pair, allowing Bobby Fischer to have the bishop in this game. Well, would that give Fischer an advantage? Moreover, Fischer now have damaged kingside pawn. Can Boris Spassky convert this to a win for him? Let's find out. In this position here, knight hops. You know I mentioned something about moving the knight earlier in the future. It has happened. However, there is no more knight here. I'm mounting pressure to the pawn. Just only one rook. The pawn is still safe because there are two defenders here. Well, in this position here, most of you will consider, okay, let's take away the knight, one of the defender. It will be a problem for beginners who don't understand using the right piece for the right job. Let me show you something. If you take with the queen now, two defenders have left this pawn. One the knight, now the queen. Sure you get it. This can now happen. However, in your game, if your opponent tries to play trick with you with this kind of variation, just take with the pawn and still retain your defender. Your game will continue smoothly. So let's get back to the game. I think here, after knight moved, then this happened. Trying to offer knight. Because, you know, the knight coming to this square in the first place attack this pawn. So if you take this pawn and attack the bishop and the rook, Fischer said, okay, let me give him a knight offer, and at the same time opening a defense on my pawn. So if he takes the knight, bishop can take, rook can take. I have men standing there for me to defend the piece. So what did he do? He continued with this move. Then now Fischer brought in the queen. To me, I don't know about you, but if you see the queen coming closer to your king side, be very, very careful and vigilant. Something is about to go down. Here, Fischer plays the queen here on h4. Why? There's no visible reason. So maybe the reason is under the next two moves. That's why you have to kick against it now. How did Boris Spassky manage this situation in this position on move 14 after queen to h5? He went on to play a bishop. Then knight comes in, knight takes, pawn takes. Here bishop comes down with the intention to play bishop to g3 if the queen doesn't leave. So Fischer intentionally saw this and said, okay, let me double attack. Now the double attack is in the sense of attacking this bishop and at the same time attacking this pawn, not the knight. Did you see that? So after saving the bishop, if the knight move anyway, sort of, you can just grab the pawn when the queen is defended by the bishop. So this happens. He defended the bishop first. So I used to tell my students, I used to tell them that at some point there is a time you will need to play safer move first. You need to defend before you attack, and this is the time. The bishop was under attack here, so Boris Spassky saw that retreating the bishop is also an option. Taking the bishop back is an option. So, but he chooses to do this so he can create through for the king to flee to avoid any back rank issues. So Fischer went on to activate one of his bishop that is not active in the game, so he can connect the two rooks. Pawn push. We have pawn. We have rook coming to the game through this file. We have pawn push. Now rooks, pawn, double of rooks. Then we have queen moving away. Good. So we have pawn push. Now rook. The same concept, but this time around, since this pawn is being attacked by 1, 2, and 3, only one defender, sorry, two defenders. Fischer added one more, making 3 defenders. So the pawn cannot be lost. That area on the queen side has been carefully managed, like defended well. Now pawn takes, pawn takes. After the pawn push, Boris hopes that he will damage the pawn structure after pawn takes. Then knight, trying to damage the pawn structure. However, Fischer said, no, I'm not going to go by your own rules. I'm going to play by my own rules by pushing the pawn to c4. The pawn now is defended by the pawn here on b5 and is attacking the queen. What do you do in this moment if you are the one playing this game? As a beginner watching this video, I have in my mind when making this video, keep your queen safe first before any form of attack. So queen goes to safety. Only then did Fischer remove one of the defender of the pawn and bring it here. Since the bishop is still there, one defender, a bishop, one attacker. So everything is natural. Good. Here, rook goes, pawn push. We see the series of move. It's in this position after this move. This last move, Fischer now went on to say, okay, let's create chaos on this board. Let's activate our pieces. He saw a need to remove one of the defender of this particular pawn. Let's count. We have knight defense, 1, 2, and the third rook. Three defenders, right? How many attackers? 1, 2, and 3, attacking one pawn. So what to do? He intentionally removed this knight so that the pawn will have less defenders. After the queen took the bishop, rook takes. It is this place that Bobby Fischer gained an extra pawn. Let's count it together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it is important for you to also know this in your game. An exchange went round in that particular position where rook takes, rook takes, rook takes, queen takes. We are down to many ideas. This pawn is vulnerable to the capture from the queen and also this pawn. So naturally, we have some pieces now hanging, which is opened up on the board. However, there's something that Boris played that I want you guys to pay attention to. Boris Spassky saw a free pawn. I will tell you, Boris Spassky saw a free pawn here. He should have taken it. But if you think of it very, very well, there's also a queen takes pawn attacking that bishop. Nice. So what did he do? He looked for a counter play, something stronger, something that would go after the king instead. He played bishop to a6. Can you see the idea? He goes after the king, leaving the pawn, seeing that the pawn is minor, the king is greater. If I achieve checkmate faster, I'll win this game. So let me go for the king. That's when he played this move. In this position here, if Fischer takes this pawn, which most beginners would do anyway, they'll fall for this trick. There will be queen to g7 mate. So what did he do? How can he defend? How can he defend against this? He found the perfect defense, taking the queen back home. So that if the queen comes now, queen takes queen, bishop takes, king takes, Spassky loses material more. So what happened afterwards? Bishop came back. Queen comes in with the intention to cap. This is the pawn. You're going after this pawn. I will definitely tell you why. He's going after this pawn, but pinning the bishop to the king. What to do? In this case, you see, there are things you need to understand when it comes to positional play. If this queen leaves this surrounding, the pawn will be captured. Then these two pawns can be pushed. So in the future, what happens? Boris found a good defense, keeping the queen where it is, leaving the bishop cannot move at the moment, but moving the king. Now, Fischer brought the bishop, king comes up. After king moved to e2, he unpins. Strategically, he has unpinned away so that the bishop can now be moved. Fischer played this check first, trying to kick the king back into hiding. Spassky blocked. He went on with check. Spassky blocked. He went on to put the queen here on b3. Still going after this pawn on b4, trying to create a pass pawn. Spassky is looking for a way to defend. Fischer is looking for a way to win. What will happen? Somebody eventually made a mistake. In this particular game, see, Spassky went for queen to d4 idea. Queen to d4 idea is simple. If you take this pawn now, then I'm going to put my bishop here, and I will have this diagonal to myself. Definitely, there's nothing you can do about it. At least I will try to make it checkmate. Even the concept of if you take now, I'm going to bring the bishop back to where I kept it that time. So you don't have any defense. This is also an idea Spassky wants to use against Bobby Fischer. Now, Bobby Fischer, who knows his craft very well, who knows his game very well, decided to look for a defense. This time around, he went for bishop check. Bishop d3 check creates a lot of chances for black to make checkmate. So, the game ended here. I don't know why, whether it is time or Boris Spassky resigned. I don't really know, but the game ended immediately after this check. the game ended. However, after the game ended, Bobby Fischer won, so which made the score in the match in 1972. The match became 2-1. You know, Spassky won the first game. Fischer did not play the second game, so Spassky won by forfeit. Fischer forfeiting. So now the score is 2-1. So I want to show you a line here that I think is fair enough as a continuation for this position. After this check, King moved down. Now, Fischer can now take that pawn with check. Check is a very powerful tactical idea. In fact, it's just general. Check is general to all. It can be used in strategy. It can be used in tactics. So for this case, it has been used as a strong strategic tool so as to remove one of the pawn blocking this pawn from moving forward. So this came with a check, right? King moved. Now another check. King moved. Another check. King moved. Now we have check. King moved. Then he pushes this pawn. After this move, now this happened. Threatening mate. Queen to c2 is threatening mate. What do you think white will play here? White defended. Queen takes queen. Bishop takes. Now pawn push. This pawn push attacks the bishop. Bishop goes to safety. Then now pawn can now take on f3. Now the king is boxed out. Only this is available square. For now, bishop and pawn covers here. Pawn covers here. Bishop covers here. Then pawn covers here. The bishop is almost netted. The next move for black in this situation is an intending move to push pawn to b3. The king can only escape through this place and attack this pawn. So this is faster. If king goes against this pawn or go after the pawn instead, just push this. If he says, okay, I'm not going to take the pawn, let me go after this bishop, right? Don't need to take the bishop away or panic. Just push this. In this sense, you are one way or one move to queen. And the game is clearly winning for black already. So thank you for watching this video. If you've enjoyed what you've watched, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more. Like this video and share to your friends. See you in more videos on this channel like this. If you've learned something, comment what you learned from this video in the comment section. See you in the next video.